Hey guys, welcome back to the Generation Y Conservative Show. I am your host, Chris. Again, if you're watching right now in hour number 2 and hour number 1, you missed that you can actually follow along on YouTube by searching for the Generation Y Conservative. It's actually youtube.com/Gen Y Conservative. You can also follow along on Facebook. Just search for the Generation Y Conservative fan page on there, where you can hit like and follow or get updates. And then you can also follow along on Twitter, which is @GenYConservative without the E on the end. I encourage you to go and follow along on every platform and get the notifications, especially on YouTube. Hit that little bell. It's very important there. I'm just going to make it very clear again. I was demonetized, and then the rules changed. I have to hit a certain number of subscribers in order to start making money. And up until this point, I've been doing my show for free. So I would encourage you, if you like the show, to actually head over there and hit subscribe and share it with friends and family that are conservative and like-minded. I'm sure there's a lot on there that you can find that's really interesting that you'll enjoy, including past episodes as well as movie reviews, firearm spotlight reviews like we just saw in the last hour, and multiple other things in the pipeline as well. So stay tuned for some of those. One of the things that we're going to start talking about here is in regards to getting into more on politics. So I saw this on Instagram. It says Democrats dump the POW MIA flags for gay pride flags outside of the D.C. offices. Now, I'm a little bit more in tune with what these flags actually represent. It's not a gay pride flag per se, but the transgender equal rights flag that they put up out there. And I said in my post on the Generation Y Conservative fan page that I'm not as upset as most people would be, because at least the Democrats are finally being honest with where they're coming from, right? If what they did was they replaced a flag that respected our military. What they could have done, if they actually appreciated our military, was actually set up a third flag post with this transgender equal rights flag next to all of those. And yeah, conservatives would have been upset about that too and everything, but at least there would have been reason for the Democrats to argue, hey, no, we respect our military. We have the American flag up there. We have the military flag up, and we just wanted to show that we support another cause. That's fine. I expect that from the left, right? But they kind of went out of line there when they actually replaced the military flag with this transgender rights flag. Now, I feel even more validated, in my opinion, when a follower of the Generation Y Conservative, who happens to be transgender and is a friend of ours, actually commented and said, yeah, I'm actually on board with you on this. I think it's disrespectful to the military, and they should have put up a new flagpole for this if they had felt that way. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's awesome to actually hear that, because the problem that we have in society right now with those that hold a different opinion than us is the fact that we can't have a conversation with each other anymore. Now, this individual happens to be a transgender female, and I haven't seen them for more than a year, I believe, at this point, but they understand where I'm coming from. They've seen me a couple weeks ago making fun of the "it's ma'am" transgender that showed up in GameStop and everything. And there's a lot of funny things to be said about transgenders. Look, there's jokes to be written, but no one wants to write those jokes because they're afraid of offending people, right? I mean, it's the same reason why Jerry Seinfeld doesn't do comedy on college campuses anymore, because everybody's too sensitive about everything. You can't joke about anything anymore. But I find this pretty interesting because they blatantly replaced the military flag, and this whole discussion kind of goes into another topic that I've talked about a lot in the past episodes, which is that I don't know. Give me a second to actually think that one out for a second here. I want to talk about real quick the Doc Thompson Health Challenge, though, while I simmer on the details of what I'm about to say, because it is a little controversial. Doc Thompson. We talked about him and his ties to me and my ties to him and getting on in the Mojo family. I didn't discuss his death, unfortunately, and the whole Mojo family mourns for him and his family. But it was created to help Brad Staggs, who is his partner in crime, or was his partner in crime, improve his health. Doc Thompson would be very proud of this challenge to help Brad Staggs out. And the challenge brings the Mojo 50 community together for a common cause, which is to heal, survive, and thrive. I think after Doc Thompson's accident, where he was struck by the Amtrak train, kind of brought a lot of people's attention to their own health and what's going on, and that life is short and you need to take good care of yourself. Which is exactly what Doc Thompson was doing. He was jogging at the time. He was trying to be healthier, and look what happens. Not to joke around or anything, but 10 years ago this year, I started working out for the first time, and I was diagnosed with cancer. Sometimes bad crap happens when you try to take care of yourself. But this is a 90-day challenge to make healthier lifestyle choices. Now, the challenge started on Monday, March 4th of this year, and it's hosted by Gwen Rich, who's a health advocate and founder of The Rich Solution, which you can find at therichsolution.com. You can go there. But listen, a 90-day challenge is a 90-day challenge. Just because it started on March 4th doesn't mean that you can't start it today. You need to take care of your body. You need to take care of yourself. You need to help encourage those around you that are having health problems as well to jump onto something and get their life back in order, get control of their life. There's 8 obstacles everyone needs to conquer for optimal health, according to The Rich Solution. Diet, which I'm bad at. Mental attitude, which I'm great at. Exercise, which I'm bad at. Sleep, I remember that before kids. Stress, I have an abundance of that. I don't know if you're supposed to have stress or not supposed to have stress. Environmental toxins, which are everywhere. Community and emotional health. Those are the 8 obstacles that everyone needs to conquer for optimal health. So stress is an obstacle. Sorry about that. But it's hosted by Gwen Rich of The Rich Solution. All you have to do is go to www.therichsolution.com. Okay? So let's help Brad Staggs in this case, encourage him along this journey. And while you're doing that, hop on the train yourself. That's a bad term to use in regards to this whole situation. Hop on the bandwagon, get on it, help your friends get on it, help them improve their health as well. It's all about health. Keep yourself living, right? Okay, so I am going to talk about this controversial statement that I have in regards to this whole flag thing. I had a theory that conservatives and Americans both love America. Conservatives love America for what it is, where it's come from to where it is today, despite all of the wounds and blemishes that come along with that, of past transgressions that America has gone through, that we love America for what it is and what it stands for, and the stark difference between America and all these other countries out there. I actually have a couple points that make it stand out as different. But I always used to say that that liberals love America as well. It's just that they love it for the utopian vision that they have for America. They love it for what it can be, right? They love bits and pieces of it right now, but they love it for what it can be. But as I was driving around over the last couple weeks, I was really thinking about that theory as I was listening to someone on one of Joe Rogan's podcasts who happens to be a liberal. And I forget exactly who it was, but it really got me thinking, because I realized when you think about marriage, right? You better love that person before you get married, right? No one goes into a marriage thinking, I love this person because I can get them to change everything about themselves and be a completely different person. If only I could do that, that right there is true love, right? No, love is loving what you have and realizing that, yes, there's always potential in that person to be someone better, to do something more, but it's the base love, right? And as I look at Democrats and how they're treating our military and our flag, right? We had not too long ago, I was at CPAC. I was at Trump's speech when he came out and hugged the flag. Now, it's not the first time that he did it, but I saw people like S.E. Cupp at CNN talk about how it was the flag's Me Too moment, right? And that how disgusting it was. And all I could think to myself was, okay, we have Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled for the flag. We have Antifa people who tear up the flag, rip it, burn it, spit on it. We have people that disrespect it all the time. And the second a president hugs the flag and actually shows appreciation, that's where it's wrong. That's where that's where the left. Democrats are one thing, okay? I don't believe that many Democrats exist anymore. JFK Democrat days are gone. You couldn't get JFK elected today. A pro-life, religious man who actually considered acts of war, right? He would have never made it today, despite how liberals praise him and put him up on the pedestal as one of their greatest politicians ever. But my analogy for marriage actually holds true, because liberals don't love America for what it is. They don't even have that base love that I was talking about. They love it for what they want it to be, which is a European ideal of socialism or communism, some people even believe in now, and this disgusting twisted version of America that they believe, that they love, that they want to destroy this nation, the only nation left on earth like it. Once you destroy the concept of the American dream and what America was founded on, and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and Declaration of Independence and all of our founding documents and ideas from our founding fathers that go into this country, once you destroy that and get rid of it, you can't escape America and go somewhere else. There's a reason why we have an illegal immigration problem in this country from countries that frankly are crap holes that the liberals got mad at, that President Trump said escaping those countries. Well, why would they be leaving those countries if they weren't crap holes, right? And it just amazes me that you have the stark contrast between conservatives and liberals on the idea of love for America. And I've reevaluated my position on it, and I will say confidently that liberals and the left specifically do not love America. I think that they actually have a distaste and sour taste in their mouth of what America actually is. Okay, before I get into something else here, I want to actually talk about Beto here. This is according to the Western Journal. Beto admitted to eating magic dirt after a humiliating loss to Ted Cruz left him in a funk. Beto O'Rourke, best known of Democratic contenders, the former Texas congressman received his fair share of media attention when he ran for Senate against Republican Ted Cruz last year, giving him a boost in public recognition. Yeah, this guy lost to Ted Cruz, yet thinks he's going to beat the guy who beat Ted Cruz to be president. Whatever. Says the president of the United States is one of the most important and stressful positions in the world, with history-changing decisions. But a series of eyebrow-raising and simply odd stories about O'Rourke is raising questions about just how serious a candidate he truly is. Buried in recent Washington Post biographical piece about O'Rourke is a bizarre tidbit that should make every American pause and ask a few questions. Apparently, the man many Democrats think can defeat President Donald Trump in 2020 also believes that magical dirt is a big part of success. After O'Rourke lost his Senate race to Cruz, disappointing liberals who donated $70 million in the process, he left his family behind to lick his wounds on a soul-searching journey, one that included swallowing dirt. Beto was in a funk, the Washington Post wrote. In January, Beto hit the road much as his father had done before him and drew energy from the people he met. And on one stop in New Mexico, he didn't write about in his blog by eating New Mexican dirt said to have regenerative powers. He brought some home for the family to eat as well. So that's Beto O'Rourke for you. This is the same guy who wrote a poem about killing kids. Like, listen, when he was like 15 or 16 years old, and I get that, young people write disturbing things, say disturbing things, do disturbing things that they regret later on in life and everything. But he wrote this pretty well-written little story about how he fantasized about running over children in a car, and that by the end of this whole journey killed 28 people by hitting them with his car with no regret, and enjoyed the smacking of the bodies against the hood and everything. Listen, back in my day in school, the teacher would have read something like that. The first thing that would have happened is a call to my parents. My parents would have met up with me at a mandatory guidance counselor meeting. And then from there, reading something like that, they would have sent me to an institute to get better, okay? But you can't do that today. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of mental rehabilitation center institutes are going by the wayside anymore, right? Unless you're an extreme case that goes into them. Now we over-medicate society. You have a bunch of crazies out in the street because you don't want to offend them by telling them that there's something wrong with them mentally or trying to treat that mental illness. Now it's just living their truth, right? And giving them a pill to get them over whatever they're physically or mentally feeling at the time. Well, Beto probably could use a little bit of time in a mental institute, if you ask me. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Let's go to Elizabeth Warren here. Elizabeth Warren, this is a CNBC article. Senator Elizabeth Warren pushes to break up big tech companies like Amazon and Facebook. Senator Elizabeth Warren unveiled a plan to break up these technology companies, including Amazon, Facebook, and Google. Her proposal is the most specific one put forth in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary to limit Silicon Valley. Other candidates, such as Senator Amy Klobuchar and Bernie Sanders, have been skeptical of large technology companies as well. Now, here's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to talk about this. Number one, you have Facebook, Amazon, and YouTube censoring conservative content all the time. And one thing that they do is they prop up liberal candidates like no other. They push them as trending topics. They try to get them out there as much as possible. And that all links back to the place where these companies derive, which is Silicon Valley. And in Silicon Valley, which is in the heart of California, right, between major cities that are liberally infested, you have workers that come from these big cities that are absolutely dripping in leftist ideology. And there's James Damore, right? He was he Facebook or YouTube? I forget. Google. He was Google. He wrote the Google memo on the diversity of thought within Google, which is that you can't have a difference of thought and voice your opinions or you get in trouble. It's not tolerated, and you have to go along with the ideology of the company, which happens to be liberal, and that they don't promote any other thought process besides their own. Predictably, he was fired, right? And this is happening to people within companies all over the place. There's, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is actually called Red Pilled America, and they went over a 3-part series over the course of 3 weeks to go into Silicon Valley and what's going on there on the censoring of conservative content and how they're pushing their ideology and everything on the left, right? Well, isn't it amazing, though, that we have senators like Elizabeth Warren who actually come out of the woodwork as someone that has been propped up by social media to then, after all the work they put in for her, come out and say that we need to break up these tech companies? It's like the tech companies have done everything that they can do to prop up this woman and her colleagues, and in the end the dog bites the owner's hand that's feeding it, right? I don't understand how Silicon Valley, which is full of liberal workers, can take a look at someone like Senator Elizabeth Warren and say, yeah, this is someone that we should be supporting, right? Klobuchar, Sanders, I can guarantee you that Cortez and Omar and forget the other woman's name, but all these new ones coming up are all about socialist policies, breaking up big companies. Big companies are bad. Cortez was happy that she got Amazon kicked out of New York City, despite the potential gain of thousands of jobs of the people that she actually represents. These people are actually backcrap crazy, is all I'll tell you about that. That was Warren. Okay. Let's see here. One other thing. I didn't know whether to put this in politics or entertainment. It's kind of a little bit of both. But there's a movie that was just released, and I was talking at the beginning of the show about my stance of being pro-life. And one of the movies that just came out this past week is actually called Unplanned. And it's the story of Abby Johnson, who used to be a big director within Planned Parenthood, and her road to becoming pro-life and railing against the abortion industry, especially Planned Parenthood, knowing the ins and outs and the bonuses that they receive for pushing the sale of abortions within there and everything. Well, the actress that played Abby Johnson in the new film Unplanned fired back at Alyssa Milano's attack on Georgia's pro-life bill. I thought this was pretty interesting. The star of the biopic Unplanned, Ashley Bratcher, responded to a letter written by abortion advocate Alyssa Milano to Georgia House Speaker David Ralston and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, threatening to boycott the state if a proposed pro-life heartbeat bill passes. Milano slammed HB 481, the Living Infants Fairness and Equality Act, which bans abortions if a heartbeat is detected. Responding on Deadline, Bratcher, who portrays a pro-life advocate Abby Johnson in the film, says she is a proud Georgian and that she is incredibly proud of her home state for taking a stand in the fight for life amidst backlash and dubious threats. So this is exactly what she wrote here. It says, for the latter part of a year, I've watched as women I've admired, like you, spoke out in regards to women's rights, more specifically women's reproductive rights. With radical laws like the ones in New York and Vermont being passed, it's more critical than ever that we are using our voices to fight for the rights of women. One problem, you're forgetting about the rights of women within the womb. If feminism is all about equal rights, then where are her rights? She also criticized Milano for saying that the state leaders are going down a divisive road once again, refighting culture wars and jeopardizing one of the state's biggest sources of revenue. I have to go see that and another movie that just came out too. Oh, Us. I heard Us was really good. And one of my friends that used to run a website with me, Jerome Hudson of Breitbart, actually wrote how it's a bashing of socialism. I'd be interested in seeing how that actually worked too. But go see Unplanned, support a movie like this, because the more we can get the message out about being pro-life and the options that people have and exposing the abortion industry for what it is, a money-making scheme where they put women's mental and physical health in jeopardy, all to sell a service that is literally killing people, is something that we need to get out there. So listen, when we come back from the break, we're going to go over one more segment here. I'm going to read the funny review on Amazon that I came across. We're going to talk about Trump winning lately, the Democrats falling apart, and we'll get to my conservative reflection. Stay tuned after the break.